Welcome to TNT, baby, the naked truth with Taylor Armstrong, where I'm going to expose everything about my life, and my guests are going to come on, get naked with me, and bear it all. Now let's get naked. So Jim, I read this article on monogamy.
Right.
I was on a plane and I just happened to be reading in this magazine, like a woman's magazine, of course, and all about monogamy. And is it bullshit? Is it real? Can people be monogamous forever? There's very few species that are actually monogamous.
It's so crazy.
It's like fish and hideous, ugly animals. Those
Isn't
are the
it
two
lobsters
things.
though too?
Lobsters.
Because you know you're my lobster from Friends.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is lobsters too.
And
I don't know why. Swans. Oh, see, they're pretty.
Yeah, because they're so beautiful. They just pick each other and then they stay together forever.
Well, and typically there's only like two of them in a pool.
Yeah, that's
so
it.
what are they going to do? Cheat?
No, that's it.
There's no other option.
Third swan gets brought in. It's total war.
Okay, so is that the key? You have to just have two swans in the pool, and then that way you just grow and flourish together, and you don't ever have the opportunity to look around and go, wow, that other swan looks super hot.
There has to be other swans, right? Or do they mate with their own siblings?
No, I think they're like, they couple up. But like my friends that have swans.
But I mean, there's
which
only
is
two
like
to begin with. They're all
said by no one ever. The fact that I have more than one friend that has swans. Right? Leave it to Beverly Hills. But my friends that have swans only have two each. I have two friends with swans. I have two each. Two swans and two swans.
I have 0 friends with swans, Taylor. But I have been to a hotel with swans in the lobby once, and there was definitely more than 2.
Yeah.
But I wonder, if
I don't know
how that started.
But the whole monogamy thing is interesting. Because
and then how does the third swan feel, and all the other ones that aren't paired up yet? Like if there's one that's a pair, is it like real life too? Like when you're married to somebody, but you have that friend that like knows that you're married, but like never tries anything, but they're always on the outskirts where it's like waiting. Is it for like that for them too? It just never happens.
Please, I think we both know that I have the friend in waiting that is like, has overstepped a few boundaries.
How many friends in waiting? How many?
Well, but I mean, it becomes kind of toxic when you're the third swan.
That's what I mean. How could it be healthy for the third swan? The third swan needs to go find a fourth swan and get out of there.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, from now on, if you're buying swans, people in Beverly Hills, make sure that you get 4, not 2, and then add a third because that's unfair to the third swan.
Yeah. It's unfair.
It is. But I think about monogamy. So the person that I wanted to date when I was 17, 18, because I meet these couples that have been together since they were in high school, and I think it's fabulous that they haven't killed each other yet, but also the fact that like my characteristics for who I went to date when I was 17 were like, he's hot and he's a star baseball player.
Right.
Like not thinking future, not thinking anything about like, is he going to be a good breadwinner? I mean, nothing along those lines.
No. Okay. So I definitely, there's a transition too from when you're first interested in boys to where your hormones are raging and you're like young. And I don't know why nobody talks about the actual control your hormones have over your actions when you're a teenager, right? And you're like acting on impulse. You haven't really learned to talk to yourself, your brain, like make wise decisions. You're just still existing in the world like a baby. Like you're totally on impulse. Your hormones are raging, right? Yeah. And then you put in a room and like, you're just like, some guy likes you and you're like, oh, he likes me.
Yeah.
You know, that's like what, when you're like, I hate to say it, but you're probably like 14 to, 18. Like high school years.
To current day.
Yeah. No. But I mean, it starts somewhere around there.
Totally.
And then you just learn to become more mature and control yourself and everything. But if you're just like an animal acting on impulse, that's like totally different, right?
Well, definitely the characteristics we're looking for. I mean, even when I was picking a college, I said, oh, I visited all these different colleges and I went, oh, I'll go to OU because I know they'll win a national championship and like, I'll get to go to the Orange Bowl. And like, just like, these make no sense. These are not good decision-making times when you're a teenager, but also,
and sometimes an adult,
but sometimes you pick someone and you're with them for the rest of your life. Are you then like, wait, should I have dipped my toe in the other end of the pool just to know if this is the forever? Because if it's all you know, then does it become like a prison because you don't?
No, I think you don't know any better. Need anything else. I honestly think that the best thing that could ever happen to somebody is that they just meet somebody, fall in love, and literally are committed to each other no matter what for the rest of their lives. Like, it's going to be a total shit show and horrible, and you'll probably raise kids together. Somebody might get sick, parents are going to die. You're going to go through all of these things together. And so I don't think that, like, when you get to the end of your life and you're like 80 years old and you put through all that shit with one person, there's going to be a lot of regret about it. I think it's going to be more like, oh my God, like, I created something totally amazing and I stuck it out with this person and I was committed and I did the hard things, because nobody's together for 50 years, 20 years, even 10 years sometimes, depending on who you choose, 5 years. I just mean without it being hard. It's hard. Relationships are hard. Think how hard it is with your own children, your own parents. Like, to pick a stranger, like an actual stranger, like, make a commitment to them and stick by that commitment for your whole life.
Your whole life.
Yeah. I mean, it says a lot about you. And I think it's amazing.
I do too. I mean, it says a lot about both.
Yeah, these people that can make it happen. It's like, I think the odds are like, I think we think they're less living in California, because when you look at statistics, I'm always like, oh, really? There's that many people that don't get divorced? That's wild. Like, there's actually a lot of people that don't get divorced.
More in, you think, in other states than probably New York and California.
Or even not even just the state. I just think like Orange County, Hollywood, Los Angeles, like where we come from, I think that marriage is somewhat of an accessory at some point in your life. And then maybe it's not as convenient. And so you're just done. Like, I've heard people use that comment before, like, oh no, I'm going out with my next ex-wife. Like, it's funny. Yeah. It's like, that's not funny, dude.
Right. It's not. Like, but I hear people say that all the time.
They say it all the time. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm going out with my next ex-wife. Yeah. You're like, oh, haha. But it's like, it's just the culture. The culture is different. I think that a lot of people are committed to their commitments of marriage, like in other parts of the country, more than they are here in Orange County.
I agree.
Yeah.
I also think that if I were to be with somebody from the time I was 17, 18 years old, for my entire life, you have to just grow together. Otherwise I'm so different now than I was then. I just can't imagine that the person I was would still be with the person I wanted to be with then.
Yeah, I don't think I think that's 100% accurate. I've been like 3 different people over, like every single thing about me totally different, like every 10 years.
But we are Geminis.
Yeah, that could be it. That could be it. But I think that you just don't realize it. I think that the number one thing is the commitment, and then growing together just happens naturally because you've already decided, like, this is my life, this is who I'm with, and you change with them and you appreciate them for the new versions of themselves. But what's cool is that you started so early. If that commitment's number one, then everything else I think just falls into place. Like, because you're not comparing it to anything. And so, like, if you have a failed relationship, you're already a different person. So now you don't trust the same. You don't fall in love the same. You don't
That's a good point.
Give your all. So when you've already given everything that you are to somebody and they're not already damaged, I hate to say that. I mean, I'm definitely damaged from every relationship, took a part of my brain and and my heart. But maybe you gain a lot of lessons, but how lovely would it be to have a life where you don't have to learn those lessons? Like, not every person has to learn heartbreak. They don't have to. You don't have to learn it. You decide. So it's 2 people that get together and they literally are like, hey, we're not going to hurt each other from the beginning, and we're going to stand by each other from the beginning. And guess what? Sometimes there might be cheating involved. Maybe monogamy isn't a thing. You see people that are together forever, and they go through stints. My aunt and uncle were married 60 years before he died, and he was an alcoholic for years. There was abuse during a couple of years that he came back from, and all these different things. Like, so they made it. And when I look at that at the end of the day, I admire them both, like,
absolutely,
as a standard that they had bad things happen and they made it through together.
I think part of that for me would have to figure out how to let go of the resentment.
It's the resentment,
because that is a huge thorn in your side. Like, if you are looking at someone, you know that they've betrayed you and hurt you after you've given your life to them, coming back from that, I think, would be really difficult for me.
It's so hard, right?
The betrayal.
So many, it's like, what? So it's true. Like, I think when I was younger, I dealt with cheating and things like that in relationships, and the relationship was always more important because I wanted to be that person that made it to the end. But like, the other person has to also want it.
Well, that's the thing, because you were saying earlier, if both of you say we're going to be totally committed to each other, like we're never going to falter, we're never going to, and then, but both people have to really mean it.
Yeah, like really mean it. So like when it's late at night and the hot chick secretary that after your wife had 2 babies is hitting on you at an office party.
Why do I feel like this is personal?
It's not, but I just mean,
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, it's like they have to be committed to not giving into that. And when you're a mom and your husband hasn't looked at you the same way he did when you first got together or whatever, and some guy is hitting on you, you have to be like, okay, no, I choose my family, even though they don't make me feel nearly as good as this adorable boy that wants to go to coffee, right?
Because the attention feels great.
The attention feels great. Yes, when you've been, blood dry by life. So I think it's like life is hard. You know what I mean? Like people don't ever say like, hey, it's hard. It's like, it's yes, we need to keep our mindset up. We need to keep motivated, all these things. But the truth is you have to get up every day. And some days it becomes totally horrific, like, oh my God, it's Groundhog's Day, I'm waking up again.
Right.
And even if your life is perfect, like I've been really poor and broke in my life, and I remember waiting for the sun to go down and dreading when it came up every day for like years on end.
I hate that.
And then I still have a great life where like I don't have to worry about anything, and I still sometimes have days where I'm like, can we please just get to bedtime?
100%.
And there's nothing wrong with my life. I think that that's actually totally normal to have some days where it's like, this is a lot, or I've made way too many commitments, or, I still have to, my family has to count on me, or I have to make dinner again. It's like, oh my God, if we could just stop eating dinner at this point, I would be so happy.
Oh my God. That's so funny because the other day, John, my husband was, Gemma, but he was trained by a French chef. Yeah. And so he's an incredible cook. And there's days when I'm just like, I just want to pop in for a fillet of fish at McDonald's and not go through the whole experience of him cooking and chopping and cooking in hours. And then we have these amazing dinners and I'm like 3 bites in, I'm like, I'm tired. I don't know. And then I feel guilty because I didn't like over enjoy the dinner that he spent all this time preparing. And I would have been happy with my fillet of fish. I know people have told me it's not real fish, and that's okay. Because I like it. It reminds me of my childhood.
Hey, listen, I have to have a fillet of fish at least once a year. Yeah. Like it has to happen. And I want like extra tartar sauce.
Me too.
Just coming out the sides of that fillet of fish.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like it's got to happen. And I don't care if I'm deathly ill 2 weeks, 2 hours later, but I'm eating it.
I think part of the monogamy thing is that I have to appreciate the fact that John likes to put in the hours of making these amazing dinners. And I have to be supportive of that
he's
when
doing it for you.
I just want the fillet of fish and I just want to get the shit over with and go to bed because I'm tired and I'm worn out from the day or whatever, but then you have that's part of the making that long-term commitment where it's like, I'm going to support you and you're going to support me no matter what, with your 3-hour dinners where you completely destroy the kitchen. And I just have to go to bed and think, okay, somebody's going to clean this up tomorrow because I just cannot with this mess.
It's too much.
It's too much.
Yeah.
But that's part of the long-term commitment is knowing that if your partner, for instance, one of my girlfriends, her boyfriend, he does lawn bowling and he's like 30 and he's like on the board and everything. And she just goes and is supportive of his lawn bowling. And I think it's adorable. And he's in great shape. He's a skier, all kinds of stuff. Yeah. But it's his passion.
He likes it.
So I would just be like, you've got to be kidding me. I'm 30 years old. I'm not going to lawn bowling. But I think that's what these long-term monogamous relationships, you just have to constantly maybe not sacrifice. Yeah. But compromise.
Well, also, what part of that is codependency and what part of that is being supportive, right? Like, does your husband expect you to be at every one of his lawn bowling matches? And is that being supportive, or does he like need you there in some weird way? And I think that older couples are 100% codependent on each other.
They are, you think?
Yeah.
I think they spent their entire lives together because they've grown up together, basically.
Like you label it like codependency, but it's also like, no, this is just like a person that's literally been attached to my thigh for 20 years or whatever, and I don't feel right going anywhere without them.
Well, if you're together how long have you been married? We've been married about the same amount.
Yeah.
6, 5, 4, 10? I've been married for 10, I think.
14 years.
25, 12 years. 40. I don't know. It feels like a lifetime.
I've only been married a couple years, but we've been together for 14 years. But
right. So we've been together about that same amount.
Yeah. And then I think like when it gets to like a certain point, you're like, dude, we're too old. You can't get out of this now. Like, I don't care. You can't get out of it. And then the other person goes, yeah. My uncle, we just visited him, and it was the same thing. They were making jokes the whole time about how it was too late to divorce each other.
Really?
Huh, sweets? That's what you're saying. Okay, sweets. It's too late now, sweets.
That's actually really cute. I don't know if it's ever too late because I just don't know what the breaking point would be. For certain people, it's different, I guess.
Well, I think sometimes it's financial because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm 70. I'm getting divorced. How am I going to afford my life?
Right.
You know, oh my God. OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's for all
70.
ages now. Have you seen that? There was like Baddie Winkle, some baddie. She's like 80, full on, makes like what? $5 million. You guys have to look this up.
Wait a minute. There's an 80-year-old woman on OnlyFans. Is she getting naked?
Yes.
Oh my God. I need to know everything I need to know everything but not see pictures.
Yeah, don't show me.
I mean, no matter how hot you are, 80 is not looking good. Oh my God.
I don't know.
This is a total off the topic, but I have to tell you, I was looking at hotels for you and I to stay in Palm Springs when we go over because we're working on this new project. And somebody recommended a hotel to me. I pull it up. I feel like you guys should pull it up, but we probably can't show it. Well, literally.
What is it?
It's a nudist hotel.
Oh my God.
Like, it's really nice. It's clothing optional. I'm like,
The Ho Hotel? The Ho Hotel?
The Ho Hotel. The clothing is never optional for me.
What is it?
No, but the OnlyFans 80-year-old woman is interesting to me.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but like literally they were like, here's 3 great hotels in Palm Springs for you and Gemma.
Okay,
and I'm like,
wait, do you walk in naked or do you like take off your trench and you're naked? Oh, that would be like a movie. You walk in,
yeah,
stilettos,
it's not really
cigar. It's like a whole thing, not a cigar, a long cigarette on a thing. Right?
Yeah.
You come in with your trench and they're like, can I take your coat? And you're like,
and do you wear accessories?
and then you check in and you put the key in your mouth. I'm sorry. I just dropped my massive ice bucket.
Your gigantic ice bucket that you eat all the time. So, no, okay, well, the OnlyFans thing is like a whole new
Did you find
deal
it?
For me. I'm dying. But it is like the monogamy thing. Well, she looks good.
Okay, I'm sorry. That is not nearly as sexy as I was describing.
Well, I don't know. Why would anybody want to pay for that picture?
I don't know. If I'm going to go to a nude hotel, I want it to be very old school chic, like old Hollywood chic.
Well, I'm going to show you the one because I pulled up the website and I literally was sitting in public, shockingly, at the deck. I was working and I literally pulled up the hotel for you and I to go over for Empowered Experts. And it just pops up on the screen and there's nude people on the opening homepage of the hotel.
It's on the homepage.
And they're not supermodels. And I was like, oh no, I don't. See, most people shouldn't be naked in public. I mean, unless you're like Elle McPherson. Then you could just rock it, or David Beckham.
But okay,
that's the only 2 people.
Okay, so I think I gotta say that I think that I totally hear what you're saying because, you know, I do actually agree, but I'm gonna still tell this other story.
You're gonna support the nudies?
I'm gonna support the nudies. Okay.
I don't know how we went down this path, but I love it.
But seriously, I think what it is a bunch of people that don't look like supermodels that get together to say, I don't care that you don't look like a supermodel. I'm going to understand you because neither do I. So here we are together. We can just let it all hang out and we can be free like the beautiful people.
Yes.
Okay? Because we deserve to be free like the beautiful people. Okay. So then they all get together and they be free.
But then when somebody says, do you want to be on the opening page of our website, like on our homepage?
You're like, fuck yeah, because I'm the hottest of the not hot.
Why is it the hot people don't go to a nudist place? Like, I almost think we should just go there. But then I think too,
because they're on OnlyFans getting paid.
But they would shame us if we kept our clothes on the whole time.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing.
We would get totally shamed.
That's why I don't go to Ice Spa in Irvine.
Oh my God.
All my friends go
naked.
Yes. And they're going to be like, there's the girl with the, she didn't take her wrap off.
Because she doesn't have very good self-confidence.
She must, it's her confidence.
But then maybe if you're going to be monogamous, you and your life partner get into going to the nudist places because actually you need like some kind of risque stimulation because you've been together since you were in high school. And so the way to do it is you go to a nudist hotel. So that way you get to look at other people naked without touching them, but then maybe it turns you on because you're
and then you go home and you do each other.
So long. Yeah.
You're so excited.
Oh, that girl at the pool today was super hot. And then it makes it hotter for you guys.
You know what's funny?
I don't know.
Okay, like what's funny is that everything that you're saying is a total scenario that's absolutely happened before. And that's probably exactly what goes through everybody's head. Like, honestly, if they're going to do that, right? But I'm here to tell you to just not do it.
I'm I'm definitely not going to a nudist colony.
I just do not go with your spouse to a nudist colony.
I know. Well,
you'll have sex that's hot that one night, and both of you will be thinking about other things all the time. That's what I'm saying. You have to stay in your own little box.
Wait, so now you're saying like even these couples that have been together for 50 years are not watching porn together. There's got to be something. I mean, if I had to look at the same, I don't know. I'm probably a terrible spouse because I just think if I had to look at the same person for 60 years, I would be like, I am so over you. I don't know. Maybe it's just this incredibly amazing bond and I just don't get it because I'm not a swan.
I'm not a swan either.
We're not swans.
That's okay. We're lobsters. I'm a duck.
No, I just thought it was in the article. It did say that the very few animals are together forever, and the ones that are, it said typically they're ugly, except for the swans and the lobsters are kind of cute, but they're kind
typically
of like,
the animals are ugly.
The ones that stay together forever. There's
do they know that they're ugly, or is it humans?
No, I think that I wrote it down. There's a rat that mates for life, and it's like, look it up because it's supposed to be like a really
rats are supposed to be super smart. So you're telling me that only ugly people mate for life?
In the animal kingdom.
Oh, in the animal kingdom.
Mm-hmm. But so if you grow together and stay together, basically you become codependent. That's what makes monogamy work.
Yes,
right?
Yes. I don't think you can have it with it's just true love. It's just that it's like rare.
Is it, or is it codependency? Because you don't know how to live without each other. That's really called codependency. But and then what if one person gets a hobby? So I have a couple that I'm friends with. He's a big skier because I love to ski. He's a big skier. She doesn't like to ski. So now he has his whole ski crew friends, and she doesn't go up to the mountains because she doesn't like the altitude. So then now are you setting yourself up if you're not like right by each other's side all the time?
This is what I think. I gotta tell you. I think that if you're worried about any of that, then it's not true love. I think that when you really love somebody like you would die for them, love for them, you really don't give a shit whether they go skiing, what they like to eat for dinner, like any of that stuff, because all you want is to connect to them, their soul, really. And I don't think sex gets old either when you have a fucking soul connection where you're like, I love you. Now, I think you're going to get annoyed with that person, but I don't think it's going to be like, oh, you want to ski for half the year and I don't. We should just get divorced.
But you think the sex becomes
but I think the majority
a
of
bonding experience when you're with somebody for that many years, because it's clearly not butterflies. It's not like kisses and roses and butterflies and all that happening.
I think for 98% of the world that's true. I think there's like 2% of people that literally have such a connection to each other. And no, I don't believe they're soulmates. I don't know if it's chemistry, upbringing, whatever it is that goes off in your head when you meet this other person. But I think that like the energy is palpable, and that like maybe 1 or 2% of people experience relationships like that and they don't care. But I think that because we know about it, like a legend, like a weird myth or something, like the population, that people call it, I need to find my soulmate, I need to find my other half, I need to find my twin flame, I want to find the person that's just perfect for me. And it's not a perfect person, it is a perfect for you, right? You never know who that's going to be. And then what kind of package that's in, right? I think sometimes the package also doesn't fit, right? Like if you want a typical house, like I think the person that you could have that kind of love with might have like a different idea for their life than you do, and it never works out, right? And or it doesn't mean that they're not like connected, or that they weren't supposed to like make something great together like in this world, right? I think that it's just like a weird magical thing. And then the rest of us are sitting here like, how do we make this relationship work? How do I have more chemistry when I don't feel it? Or I feel so much chemistry, but he doesn't. Or I feel, you know what I mean? Like you're in a relationship with somebody. And I think the rest of us are just trying to like kind of like meld it together and see like what one person likes and what one person doesn't. And then you finally get to know someone, and then they're somebody different. And you have to like always be getting to know that person. And I feel like actually both of those types of relationships are as equally as beautiful. Whether you take the time to get to know somebody inside or out, like really know them, or it's just like a chemistry magical thing. I think both of those are equally beautiful relationships. It's just that they teach you different things like as humans, right?
But as you're growing, so men fall in love with women they're attracted to.
Yes.
And women become attracted to the men they love. That's a saying.
I actually think that's true.
I don't know if it's factual, but I do think that men definitely lead with attraction, and women lead with who's going to support me, who's going to make sure that my babies are taken care of, who's going to be the protector. Like, it goes back to the Serengeti Plains, you know?
It's all in our brains. Like, we're literally programmed this way.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So how do I know if I'm going to be a monogamous my whole life? How do I know at 17, 18 that this person's going to provide all the things I'm going to need when I'm 55 or 60? I guess it's just a roll of the dice and you just have faith.
Maybe that's why monogamy and marriage is more of a religious idea, you know, because you're having that same faith that you have in God, right? Maybe that's where it stems from. And this is just, I'm just riffing right now. I don't know if I actually believe all this, but I'm just saying, like, maybe that's why it all is related, because you're supposed to just have faith that no matter what, like, this is your person and that is your destiny.
Even if you're I don't think that people stay together for 50, 60 years typically if they're not married. Like, to be monogamous without marriage is probably less common.
I know.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, the kid thing, because I wouldn't have gotten remarried if Kennedy wasn't. My daughter was 7, 8 whenever we got married, and 8, I think. And I wouldn't have done that, except I didn't want her to be like, my mom's a big hoe bag. She's just like sleeping with some dude she's not married to. You know, it was all the perception for her. I felt that way too. And she went to a little Christian school, and it was like, I felt like I needed to do it for that purpose. Right. Plus, I did have an amazing wedding just for fun. But since the first one was such a failure.
The wedding was amazing.
The wedding was amazing. But I did it because of her, and I wanted her perception and the perception probably of other parents to know that he and I were married, raising the child.
Right. So I feel exactly the same. Like, you feel like you're still trying to get back into that family unit. Like, you're trying to, you know, still, I don't know, save this ideal of like what was supposed to be anyway.
Right.
Right.
Well, because we both went through the loss of our first husbands. Both of our parents. Our children's parent died. Yeah. So, it was a replacement. Yeah. I mean, in a positive way. I don't mean it in a negative way, but I just don't think that I would have chosen to get married again if I hadn't had a small child.
Right. Yeah. That's interesting.
Because it doesn't really, like, a piece of paper doesn't change
I mean, you never know. Yeah. It's just
your bond to someone.
Yeah. Especially if you're not, like, you didn't want to have any more kids. Like, if you knew you weren't going to have any more kids. I think, like,
no more kids.
That, like, having more kids, I think a lot of people get remarried because they're still trying to build their family. I don't know. I think all of it's just really, relationships are just hard, and when they work out, it's beautiful. I think that's why we cry at weddings. Like, I mean, people,
don't do it. No, that's why I say at weddings.
No, I think you cry because you're so hopeful for them. Like, it's it could work. This could be the one.
It could be.
This is going to be like, they're going to make
statistically, we all know you have a very small chance of surviving this marriage. Here's a toaster.
Well, first weddings are better than second weddings. They say like almost it's like really high percentage. I don't know, but it's a very high, like in the 80 percentile of people that get divorced when they're on their third marriage.
Right. Well, could you imagine? Because you figured it out 2 times around. So the first time you're going to get divorced, when I filed for divorce from my ex, I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I've never been divorced before. I don't have a divorce attorney. Like, I was just like, everything was going crazy in my head. Yeah. But then once you start the process, if you've already done it twice, third time around, it's like you just call back the same divorce attorney and then it's over. It's pretty simple. It's over. So it's like, why do you get married the third time around? Why don't you just be like, let's just be a couple? Because I'm clearly bad at this.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I think it's because the women want money or something, or maybe men want money too. But all my friends I know that have been married that many times, they're still after it.
My friend has been married 5 times, and I'm not naming names, but I'm just going to say in the last 2 years, he's been engaged 3 times.
Yeah.
And every time he's like, oh, meet XYZ, and she's about to be my wife. And I'm thinking, okay, I can't wait. But why do you keep needing to marry over and over again? He already has his kids are grown.
I don't know. And maybe it's like back to the religious thing. Maybe his mom was like, you can't, you're like sinning if you're not married. Like, why do people keep getting married? It's weird. Actually, now that you say it, it's just kind of weird. Like, it just gets more complicated when it doesn't work out as you get older.
Well, and now you're in some legally binding
Do I
contract.
have to keep splitting my stuff?
Makes no sense because we have separation of church and state allegedly in this country. Now I'm going to get in trouble, but we are supposed to. But marriage is a religious commitment, right?
Right.
But then now it becomes a legal one, and your taxes are different because you did a religious ceremony and said you love somebody and you're going to be together for the rest of your life.
It's actually ridiculous.
Your taxes are different. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't actually. I don't feel like it actually makes sense. A lot of these things that we're just totally accustomed to make zero sense. And I think that people really need to start asking why.
Why?
Like, why? Why do you send your kids to sit at a desk for 6 hours a day? Like, literally, if somebody tried to make me sit in elementary school right now, day after day after day.
Are you kidding?
Are you kidding? They'd be wasting my life away. And honestly, I think that's maybe what's happening in the public school system.
It is what's happening. No, it is 100%.
I'm sorry. I think it's true.
My daughter,
Yeah.
just graduated high school. And I think, first of all, she has completely unrealistic expectations of relationships in general. Like monogamy is probably something that she's seen on TV, but doesn't really know because of social media. She looks at other people's relationships and she sees like these huge celebrity couples. And every time you see them on the red carpet and they look hot and they have no problems. And, you just never believe that they aren't just happy all day, every day.
Yeah,
and, it's la la land.
Oh my gosh, when they're probably more miserable than the average person, to be honest.
Well, and also
like there's just so many expectations and everything that goes with all of it. It's crazy. And those relationships, I do believe like half of them are manufactured for press.
Well, you look at these beautiful couples and then you think about the ones that have split up that went on set with another hot person. Like Hollywood's
and
a
then they had
problem.
an affair.
It's just too many hot people in Hollywood.
This is
just
what happens.
live in Oklahoma where I grew up. Then you just love each other and just eat filet of fishes.
I mean, what do you do? Like,
Fishes.
it's like you go back to that because what was it? Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, right?
Right.
And
with Jennifer Aniston.
Yes. I mean, he had like the hottest girl, the girl next door, the girl everybody wanted. And then he goes to work.
I know, but see, I'd screw around with Angelina Jolie.
No, but that's what I'm saying. And you get to work
hot.
and you're like, I'm Brad Pitt. I'm Angelina Jolie.
I know,
Want to
right?
fuck?
I mean,
Let's fuck because
let's do.
it's epic.
Mr.
Want to
and
get
Mrs.
5
Smith.
babies too? Yeah, because it's fucking, look at us.
Right?
We're awesome.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, I don't know, but I feel like that
hated
could be
it,
it.
but also was like, I mean, I get it because they're both hot as hell.
But then look, it didn't work out in the end.
I know.
And now everybody suffers.
We all suffered.
So maybe monogamy is better.
Monogamy.
Maybe monogamy is better.
I would love to know what the characteristics are of people who stay together their whole entire lives.
Yeah.
You think it's because they're religious? You think?
Like it has to be, there is something.
Christian values or Catholic values or whatever religion you are.
Something literally like in your DNA that will not allow you to make a decision against yourself like that. Like it has to be like religion, it has to be belief, integrity, your moral compass, like all these things, reasons why you don't break up with somebody or whatever. Like you're choosing that monogamy.
Well, I was trying to be,
because you don't want to be a certain person. You don't want people to think of you. It's fear of judgment as a different person.
As a divorcee.
Yeah. Or somebody that would hurt somebody else, depending on what side of the coin they're on.
Right.
And then how did you divorce that person? I went out with this guy before my husband, we were on a break. And so
that's what they all
and
say.
one of the things he said to me, he was telling me about how the house he bought that he's in, that I'm standing in, this house, my ex-wife and I, we were looking at it together. She thought we were moving here, but together. But I already set her up. I did it the right way. I set her all up, for her to go back to her mother's house. And I thought,
oh, you're
a asshole. And you literally just said that to me, like I was gonna understand your plight
with me. I'm a hoodwinker.
I'm like, yeah, you literally screwed your ex-wife over, and I'm supposed to not care because she's your ex-wife. But I mean, like, what kind of person are you?
That's horrible.
Yeah. So it's like, did you use your children as a tool in your divorce? Did you take people back and forth? Did you manipulate? I had another ex that would always say, we would switch the kids off for breakfast. And he'd say like, oh, did your mom make you a hot breakfast? And she doesn't make hot breakfast. She's a cereal mom. Okay. Like, I don't know why every week when we get him, you have to say, did your mom make you a hot breakfast? Oh, she didn't?
Okay.
Oh, like she must not love you then.
Keeping score.
Yeah. Like, what kind of sicko is manipulating a small child against their mother because they want to win in the end.
Yeah, because they want to be a see you on the weekend dad and be the superstar.
I'm sorry. If being monogamous will help avoid having to deal with divorce court and all the crap that comes down the pipeline after the divorce, after the lack of monogamy, okay, don't do it. Just don't do it. It will ruin your life. You will literally ruin your life.
Wait, divorce or monogamy?
No, I mean, well, if you're not monogamous, you end up getting divorced.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, I just wonder if
or
when
some
you're
person just
monogamous,
lives miserable.
if all of a sudden you wake up and you're like 40 years in and you go, I never had any other life experiences with anyone but this other person. Or is it, oh my God, I've had the best life ever because I've been with this person my whole life.
That's the thing. I don't think the focus is I missed out on anything. I think the focus is, wow, like I can't believe like we made it this far. Like I'm so proud of us. I mean, that's what I mean. Anybody who makes it that long, it's hard earned. They earned the right to dance at your 50th wedding anniversary or 75th wedding anniversary or whatever. Like, you know, there's a reason they give you gold at 50. Like you deserve it. It's like, you know,
like the Olympics.
Yes.
You get gold.
Yeah. You sat down and you used your words and you used communication and you said, hey, I want to freaking divorce you right now, but I love you so much. I want to figure out what the hell's going on with you. And I want you to care what's going on with me. And I want to figure it out because I actually fucking love you, even though I hate you right now. And you have to sit down and have that conversation. Or, hey, I think like we're both got too fat. Like, let's lose some weight. Like, we got to get on this instead of, oh, you're too fat. It's like, no, you got to wake up. And I mean, I woke up and started making my husband lunch every day. So, and it's been working, right? But I had to get up and start making him lunch rather than being like, you need to lose weight. You need to lose weight. Like, you've put on too much weight. You know, it's like he obviously needs help. So I'm just going to wake up and I'm in charge of breakfast. I'll make your lunch. I'm in charge of dinner. So just let me feed you and you'll get back to where you need to be.
Yeah, because you're participating in the solution that you're looking for.
Yes, you're literally becoming, I think when you get married and that's the whole thing, it's a lot more than a party. It's a major commitment to like making sure that that other person is always okay. Like, and even when you hate them. And that's a long time. Sometimes, I mean, I've gone like in relationship, like a year hating somebody. My husband was unemployed for 6 years. Okay. That's 6 years. We didn't change our lifestyle. God, it sure takes a long time to learn that you're not living within your means. Like, I mean, I went from spending a lot of money to, oh shit, like I really need to get control of this. Like, how do you spend $600 at Starbucks on like in a month? Like, how does that happen? Like, you know, and you have to sit there and be like, okay, he lost his job. I need to step up to the plate. And trust me, every single person I know was like, you need to leave him. You need to leave him. You need to leave him. It's like, okay, then what? Then I leave him and I meet somebody else who's fine. But then what? Like in 2 years, they get cancer? Or like, then I leave him and I go, I mean, mind you, yes, I could leave him and have a beautiful mansion somewhere and being whatever, but there's going to be a cost for that too. So like, is it worth leaving somebody for something? I mean, like, or is it really worth it to stick it out at the end of the day and know you made it and you made it through the hard things and you made it through, I don't know, cancer or alcoholism. I mean, I was obese, like severely obese, like, and I was skinny when he met me and he stuck through me and loved me through that. And so part of me is like, well, you love me at my worst, you know, you kind of deserve me at my best. So it's like, instead of like, oh, you loved me at my worst and now I can have anybody I want. And like, so fuck you. Like, that's like, how does that work? You know, it's like, I think that it's just, it all just comes down to who you want to be in your life and how important that is to you, right? Like, what are you willing to compromise to get whatever you want? And what are they willing to compromise? I don't know.
So the friendship is really, it just becomes family. After you've been together for a certain number of years, the kisses and roses and butterflies are gone. And then you just are family.
But not always. Okay, so like this is what's crazy, Taylor, is my husband wakes up every morning with butterflies.
I know, because he's obsessed with you.
I don't know.
It's so sweet.
But is it real or is he choosing every day to do that? I think he chooses every day to be that person. I don't think it just comes naturally. I think he chooses every day. I am way too difficult of a person for him to not be choosing every day to be showing love and affection.
He's putting forth the effort.
Yes.
And it makes you feel good?
Yeah, like half the time. And then half the time I'm like, oh my God, what? Like, so, let's just get divorced. And he keeps fighting for us. Like, no, because he knows I'm not serious. But like, I do think it's hard. But then it also comes down to aging and sex, which comes into a whole other thing, is like sex and aging, right? Like, do you have a different libido at a different time, or do you have a libido and maybe things don't work? Like, you know, men age, women end up with like hysterectomies, men have, you know, erectile dysfunction issues. Like, these are things that actually happen, and they happen to the majority of people. So it's just that nobody talks about it, right? Like, nobody talks about menopause. The same way that women are all over the internet right now talking about menopause, they should also be talking about erectile dysfunction and what that makes men feel like, right? And then trying to be in a relationship with people that are dealing with these things, like as you get older. I think that's why you graduate to we're best friends, you know, and then you really have to be with the person who's your best friend, who you can laugh with at night, who you can do silly things with, who you can be your weirdo self, not somebody that you have to impress. Because at the end of the day, you need somebody that can just hang out with you, you know?
Well, and after you've been together for a certain number of years, it's like in the beginning, it's all like everything's new and exciting. And then pretty soon you realize these are the things that drive me crazy about you. And I'm sure that drive you crazy about me. And you just learn that you're going to accept those or not. Yeah. And then that's when the rubber hits the road. But I also, you and I both have been through abuse. So those are big, big parameters that we're gonna be together forever, and then you're abusive to me, then that's just has to be
that's a no.
That's a no.
Yeah, that's a no. I don't think you should stick that out.
But these couples, the guy I was talking to the other day on the plane, he'd been together for 39 years with his wife.
Oh my gosh.
And he's my age. Yeah. And I thought that's sweet. He must have been a little bit older than me, because that doesn't make any sense. They were together since they were 5. Since I'm only 4. No, I'm just kidding. No, but they've been together 39 years. I mean, that's a lifetime.
Yeah, it's like, well, or, you know, 2.
And you can tell that he just still has a nice little sparkle in his eye when he talks about her.
Yeah, but I think it's probably because they like learn to respect each other for going through so many different things. I mean, nobody just like graduates high school, has their job. I mean, some people do. They just get their job. That's it. They do the same thing forever. And they come home and they go back. I mean, some people do, but the majority of people don't, right? You like might go to college, and then you meet somebody, or you don't meet somebody, or all the different things that happen, and you travel and all of these different things. And when you're with somebody, they actually start to appreciate you for all the little things in life, right? Like how you treat people, how you take care of your friends when they're sick, how you like remember your kids on their birthday, like, or, you know, how you save every hotel room key that you have ever been to because it's special to you. Like, so like when you learn to actually see and appreciate people for all the little things that make them who they are, I think that it's a lot easier to stay with somebody for so long, and you appreciate it. You're like, what am I going to do? Like meet somebody else? Like, I guarantee you, like if we get divorced, I'm not going to really want to be investing too much energy in knowing anything about you, your kids, your ex-wife's kids, you know what I mean? Unless, I mean, maybe in a different world, I mean, I guess I could be really excited and his kids might like me. My husband's kids do not like me, like whatsoever.
I don't know how that's possible.
But I've just made, no, they literally just like don't like me at all. It's like weird. I don't know. I've never had anything like it. I know I sound horrible, but
I'm sure this will help.
It's really weird. But I'm like, I don't know, maybe if I married someone else, their kids would like me and it could be a different life.
Oh my God. I'm dead right
but see,
now.
that would be my trauma from this relationship. I'd go into the next one and I'd shun the new guy's kids because I'd assume that they weren't going to like me, right?
Right. Well, you wouldn't want to open up your heart to them.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
It goes to the whole thing of with monogamy or with having multiple partners. After you have that first heartbreak, because one of my friends is going through a significant heartbreak, and it's a friend's daughter, and she's in high school. Aww. And we all remember that first heartbreak. It's the worst. It feels like your soul's being ripped from you. It's the most horrible Todd Walton when he moved away. I literally walked around in my socks in my neighborhood until I wore holes in them. They were blue polo socks with white stripes. I'll never forget. He moved to Virginia. And I cried for like, I don't know, 3 months. I was so upset because I was convinced in 7th grade he was the love of my life.
Oh, right.
I know. I was really invested and I was just so heartbroken. And so then in the next relationship, because you give 100% in that first one, right? And then after that,
you're so cute. You're like writing love notes.
Are you
putting
90% after that? And then 80, then 70? Like how much do we start holding back from letting our hearts love someone so much when we have fear of failure?
Oh my God, that's such a big question, right? And then I feel like some people, you never really get over it. And so the current relationship you're in just is like a numbing relationship. That's why when I say like, if you can just meet somebody, fall in love, like even if it's your second, if it's like in that high school like era, right? Like you're 18, you're coming into age and you've found the person that you can somehow make it work with, but no matter what, I feel like that is gotta be the coolest thing in the world, because there's just so much damage between relationships, and it changes you as a person, and not just like you. I mean, like how you relate to the world, how you trust other people. Like, I mean, even in my marriage with my husband, I've like literally apologized. I'm like, I realize like certain things that trigger me, or like I can pinpoint like where I'm irrational. And I'll be like, I don't know, I'm just damaged. Like, I don't know. Like, I just can't get past that. Like, you know what I mean? And you're never going to love exactly the same.
Well, that's why the beauty of the monogamy that we've been talking about is that you don't have those scars that, I mean, you're definitely going to get scars along the way in any relationship, but you don't have the scars that keep you from loving to your fullest. Yeah. Because you started loving that person with everything.
Because you feel stupid.
And then you're still with Todd Walton.
Yeah.
And now you're 80. And you love Todd Walton. Because he didn't move away.
It could have happened. I think it's so funny.
I actually saw him when I was in college. Isn't that funny?
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I went to visit him.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and it was like so different. Well, because like your 7th grade relationship, I think I just thought it was. Well, I always had boyfriends really young because I didn't have a dad. Right. You know, that whole like trying to fulfill that whole void bullshit. But so no, when I went to go see Todd, we were like 18, 19 years old. And I'm like, why does this feel different than when we were in 7th grade?
I wonder.
Maybe we've grown up a little bit and things are a little different. But I think that's how it would be for a couple that gets together when they're teenagers to stay together for their whole lives.
Do you remember like people that you thought were cute growing up? Or like, do you remember like, how far back can you remember like the first time you were attracted to a boy?
Todd Walton.
Todd Walton.
Todd was
so okay. So
what
grade was that? What grade was that?
I think we got together in 6th grade. I always had these long relationships at a really young age.
Isn't that funny? So what's really funny is that 6th grade, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, I went to Cordillera Elementary School in Mission Viejo, and my best friend I met in 4th grade. But like I remember, and I don't remember it was 4th, 5th, or 6th grade. In 4th grade, there was this kid, David Lynn. And he was
shout out to David.
Yeah, David Lynn and I would race who could put all the Xerox copies, the dittos
for Xerox.
The next day.
For those of you who are under the age of 950, that is also known as a copy.
We were like both teachers' pets apparently. It's so funny, and I had like looked him up on Facebook from 4th grade. And then it was like,
ooh, did your husband know that?
Yeah, no, I just liked him, but I wasn't like a weird sexual like attraction or anything at that age.
I hope not in 4th grade.
He was cute. And then there was in like 5th grade, there was this boy, John Yorkovich. So cute. Blonde hair, blue eyes, little surfer kid. Totally funny. And he said something like, my back hurts. And I said something like, well, your back shouldn't hurt. You're only in 5th grade.
That was your pickup
and
line?
He was like, I was surfing this weekend or something. And I remember, and to this day, I think it traumatized me because I remember the conversation. And I thought he was so cute. And I said, I was just trying to make conversation. And he was like, I'm so pissed at me. That was really funny.
That is, I don't know. Young crushes are amazing. But my girlfriend's daughter who's going through this, she's so in the trenches right now. She's crying nonstop. Oh my God. And you want to say to them, trust me, there's life after. Your high school boyfriend is like, probably not going to be your monogamous soulmate forever. It's not your swan. No, it's definitely, I mean,
but it could be.
It could be.
Isn't that crazy? It's
but
people
he broke
that never
up with her out of the clear blue. And he's like star quarterback.
Oh,
It's
that's a
not
bummer.
good. She's very upset. But you want to tell young people, like, trust me, you'll get over it. But you can't, because then it's just placating the whole
gosh.
experience, because we know what it feels like to be heartbroken.
Yeah, and you feel like your whole life is like over.
Yeah, I think how old were you when you had like your biggest heartbreak, do you think?
My biggest heartbreak.
Well, not when your husband died. That's
No.
extreme.
I gotta tell you, I think that when somebody dies, it's actually easier than somebody choosing to hurt you. I know that sounds horrible.
It
It
it's
does,
accurate.
but the thing is, and in no way does that mean you want them to die or anything. I'm just saying he had no choice over it. You know, he literally, I mean, he probably had choices, but he didn't expect to die. So I believe he didn't have a choice over dying, and he wouldn't have wanted to die on him and his kids, right? But when somebody is just like, I'm just gonna go fuck this other girl,
I don't want to be with you anymore.
and no, they don't even tell you they don't want to be with you, because they want to be with you, but they just want to fuck all the other girls. I think that's like a lot more hurtful. That's my
it's
can of
definitely
worms.
because rejection is the worst. That's what my girlfriend's daughter, who's in high school,
Yes.
is feeling right now. Is she's feeling completely rejected by this guy who's like the stud of the football team and all this. And I'm just like, my heart is hurting for her, because
Yeah.
that's just horrible. And
But
you have
it's
to go to
good.
school with this guy every day.
And did he break up with her, or was he like with some other girl?
No, he broke up with her.
See, he's
But
probably
just like,
listen. And
flat.
from his perspective, maybe it was him being kind, because who knows what he's going after, or what he's already starting to go after, or what he wants for himself, or whatever. But it's like she probably got out of that a lot less damaged than she could have been.
right. If
You know what I
would've been with
mean?
Somebody else, that makes sense.
What if he had subscribed to the dream too, like where he was like, oh, you're the cheerleader. I'm the star quarterback. This is so amazing. We're gonna go to college. We're gonna get married. We're gonna have the cutest kids in the face of the earth, and life is gonna be fabulous. And then my dad's gonna give us a house, and like, oh, it's gonna be great, right? And you like have this whole freaking thing planned out in your head, and it's like. But in reality, that's why she's so upset. She's got this crazy vision of like this amazing dream that was supposed to happen. And now he's going to go make it with somebody else. Well, guess what? Who knows who that guy could have been? What if nothing works out? What if he makes nothing of his life? What if he's chronically cheating with a bunch of different women? Like, what hurts is the dream, not reality.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That was the dream of Todd Walton.
It was the dream of Todd
Because
Walton.
I was like, he's the greatest guy ever. He's
Yeah.
great looking. He's smart. He's this. He's that. I know, if you're listening, Todd, just give me I'm just kidding. I'm married.
I know, right? You're like, could everybody please call
Everybody,
me?
please. I talk about Todd Walton every time I speak, just because it was the first relationship I way overthrew myself into.
Yeah.
And because
Overthrew yourself into. That was really a big statement.
yeah, because I
Yeah.
had such low self-esteem, and like this super hot guy was totally, well, I mean, I don't know if you're hot when you're in 7th grade. Now that I reflect, perhaps
Yes.
I had a vision of him being hot,
right, you
but
see
I
him
don't think
today, you'll be
7th
like-
graders are hot. So nobody write me any hate mail, okay?
Yeah.
But when I was in 7th grade and he was in 7th grade, I thought he was hot. And,
Yes.
you know, so, and plus
Thank
he had
you
a
for
great
clarifying.
family, and like everything about it was the dream,
Yeah.
was the vision. But even though it wasn't real, because I was just a kid,
Yeah.
but it was the belief that it was
me
all going to
too.
be. But I think there are people that meet in like 7th grade
Oh, my stepbrother.
and they're together for what?
My stepbrother, Sean. So my stepmother, Nancy. So her first son, he's married. And he fell in love with a girl down the street. I think they were like 8 or something. like they were young. And then they grew up. The minute they were like 18, they got married. I don't know how old she was. He ended up becoming a fire captain. They've got 3 kids.
Amazing.
Their kids both have like 5 kids each. They're like this crazy, awesome family. They're building a compound in Tennessee, been married forever. And like totally living like that life. So that's what I mean. Like, had I not known those people, I might think it was just manufactured by movies. But I see them with my own eyes. They committed to each other. They made it through. And I'm sure they have their own shit they've made it through. But it's like this beautiful family and grandkids and everything now. It's like amazing.
But it shouldn't be an anomaly. which
I
it
know,
is.
right? It shouldn't be an anomaly.
Shouldn't be. I'd love to look at a study over time, which I'm sure people can just send it to us. I have a few studies that I've been reading just because I'm fascinated by this monogamous and long-term relationships of being together, and do you become friends? Are you romantic partners? Are you codependent? Like, I don't know.
Is it changing all the time?
I think so, but I also think that it's unrealistic expectations for the younger generation. Like my daughter, who's 18, I think that she sees these relationships on television and social media, and she actually thinks that a vast majority of people have these incredible relationships where they go to the Met and they just look amazing together. They're in galas every day.
Well, that's what they do, like once a month, and then there is the 2 days of prepping and shopping and coordinating your outfits. That's all very important. And that takes up about 6 days, 7 days.
Except that people do it for you.
Yeah. And then you've got the other 25 days of real relationships that you're like, what do I do with these days?
Exactly. But I think that the younger generation, and I don't know, I'm just speaking for them, that they have an unrealistic expectation about what a happy relationship looks like because they see it on reality TV and they see it in social media. So it's like,
I think there's so many, actually, I feel like it is almost like an epidemic, young people relating to relationships, because there's so many mixed messages. You do have like the whole growing up with the Disney princess type of, man rescues the day. Then they grow up and then they get into like a different genre, right, of like sexuality, where they're like, am I straight? Am I bi? Can I be attracted to a woman? But it doesn't mean sexual. Like, I can be attracted to women. Like, I can look at a woman and be like, she is freaking beautiful. Right? Yeah. But it doesn't mean that I want to put anything anywhere or do anything with her like that. Sorry. But like, you know what I mean?
Put anything
I don't want to put anything anywhere.
Can somebody just make sure that makes the air? Because she said it doesn't mean I want to put anything anywhere.
But I'm just saying there's a lot of mixed messages going on. Like,
it's very confusing.
I mean, it is like there's a lot going on. And then you get into the relationships. And the truth is both of your parents were most likely working. You're growing up in a very absentee house. Your screen time and your computer time has been the majority of your influence of anything structural. And you're like going into this, and both your parents are working, and you probably, at that age, you now have a strained relationship because your parents were always working, and now you resent them for everything they didn't get you because you've been looking at what everyone has online for 10 years. I mean, we're going into a black hole of nothingness as far as that goes. I mean, I have kids who are like worried about relationships. I have a niece who's like, she's had like 7 boyfriends and she's literally 16. And it's like, wow, she's already like getting to the point where like, okay, online dating and all of this is just overbearing and like cumbersome, and then the energy they have to put into getting to even know somebody is so foreign because they haven't had to do it for so long. And this is like, and I'm looking at this in my 16-year-old niece and her relationships and how, like, just talking to her, and I'm like, oh my God, what about kids right now that are like 10? What about kids that are like 5? Like, what's coming down the pipeline as far as like how they're relating to each other and the expectations of communication, because you lose so much in text message. Like, I mean, even as adults, I'm like reading it wrong, or like something with my daughter or a friend or something, and I'll think they're being snarky, or they think I'm being snarky and I'm not, because you're just like losing that human inflection in the whole thing.
It's completely out of context, 100%.
Yeah.
But I think my daughter's the reverse, and I'm not sure if it's because she's listened to me tell my story for so long over the years. But I don't, like, she's got an amazing group of friends. Like, she's super tight with all her friends. But when it comes to boys, she's like, meh. Like, she had one boyfriend. She's 18. Yeah. And I don't even know if they were considered boyfriends. Like, they hang out, quote unquote.
Right.
But she doesn't, it's like not her thing. She's just not really into boys. And I don't know if that's because she's watched my history and like with my ex and everything, her father, and she just thinks.
It probably seems like a lot of drama to her. Yeah. Like maybe it's something where she's like associating just a lot of drama with relationships, and maybe she just doesn't want to do that right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Good. I mean, I was 18, I think, when I finally had my first boyfriend, but I grew up with my mom making really bad relationship decisions, and then having an alcoholic boyfriend that was also kind of like, yelling around the house and really just destructive. I don't want to say abusive because he's never physically abusive, but
that's abuse.
Yes, but not physically abusive, but he was definitely abusive.
It's still abuse.
And he's like, So I just like boys would always be like, "You want to go?" And I'm like, "No." It just seemed kind of like not something you even want to deal with.
So the interesting thing too, I'd love to see studies, which everybody just send me studies.
Send the studies.
Whether people who end up being monogamous for their whole lives come from parents that had a healthy marriage. Because I would say for both you and I grew up with a single mom. My earliest childhood memory is abuse of my father to my mother, my birth father, my sperm donor, as I like to call him. And so that was like off-putting to begin with. And I think I gravitated toward boys because of it, but also always had my antenna up. But I wonder if you had two parents, you know, she's a teacher, he's a golfer, I don't know. Yeah. But you know, then you just see this beautiful marriage, and does that make you go, I want that, so that's why I'm gonna be monogamous my whole life?
Or that's the expectation you have for yourself just in your DNA. Like,
do you think that mainly people who are lifelong lovers and friends they come from a healthy environment?
I do believe that.
I think so too.
Might be true. Or they're extremely attracted to that. Maybe one person's parents are. And so it could be like, I don't think it's both of them, but I think like maybe even one person, if you have like one person whose parents been married for 30 years and the other person, maybe their life was chaotic, but then that works like within their relationship because it's like that whole balance. Or one is more like the mom, or how that works. Because like, okay, so like my stepbrother, like his life wasn't super stable growing up, but she came from a family that was super stable. So it was like, maybe that kind of leveled him out, but I think that's what he wanted, like for his life, right?
That's interesting because I was engaged, and this family is so stable. It's like 4 kids, mom, dad, mom doesn't work, she stays at home. We were engaged, we built a house together and built kind of a life together. And I was definitely attracted to the stability of his family and the fact that they had everything I didn't have as far as just the family unit structure.
That's like, I think a big reason why I married my husband, my kid's father, was, you know, even though, because my mom was sick. So I grew up with my mom being sick. And when I say sick, I just mean like in the hospital the majority of the time. And if she wasn't in the hospital, she had like an alcoholic boyfriend that would come and go through the thing. He'd always leave when she was in the hospital. It was like a whole nightmare, right? Ugh. So I was just virtually like raising myself. But then I don't even know where I went.
Well, no, but we were just talking about like, so you're attracted to the family stability.
But then when I met Jake, he had like a family that was like, oh my gosh, we go to Yosemite, we go camping in Yosemite for Thanksgiving, and we go wherever to here, and they have like a boat, and they go water skiing on the weekends in Dana Point. And it was like, I'm like, oh my God, this is like the best family ever. This is like so cool. They go camping, they like do things together. I was like, I gotta marry him. I was like totally in love with him. And he played the guitar, and his last name was Touchstone.
Okay, and I mean, I would say the guitar would be a winner for me.
Oh yeah, the guitar was like, he'd come back, take a shower, he'd put on like full on like out of a movie, like linen pants and his sandals and his button-down linen shirt, and strumming acoustic on the couch, and he would just walk in and be like,
it's too good.
I love you.
You're like Antonio Banderas.
Yes, I was like, I love you. We have to get married now.
Yeah.
He was so cute.
But he kind of sold you a bag of goods because he wasn't happy on the inside.
I didn't know what happened. I didn't even know him. Like, you know, we got married. This is chemistry for you. We got married, bought a house, had a baby, moved out of the city, like all of these things, and opened a store in 12 months.
Right.
Like, not just like, let's get married. It was like, let's get married and put everything on massive autopilot, blow it all up, and then wonder why we can't handle it all. Like, it was like,
but you thought he was your forever guy.
Oh, forever, yeah. No, I would have stayed with him forever. I always thought like, and even when we started having like abuse issues or drug issues and all the things that happened, I used to think, we're going to, at least at the end of this, we're going to be best friends. Like, we're going to come around in 40 years, we're going to be laughing about this. We're going to be like, can you believe that year I was on meth? Like, I thought, I thought we were going to like come through it all and like look back at it and be like, I can't believe that happened.
Right.
You know, I never thought it would go to an extreme, but it does.
So we had to find it. I want to know what percentage of people are together 50 years plus.
50 years plus. Is there a statistic on Google that we can look up?
Yeah.
How many people?
Like how many marriages last 50 years plus? I think that's just.
It's just so long.
It's so long. It's so awesome. But I just,
it seems
the resentment
wild, right?
is the thing I worry. Like I think about that because some of the stuff that people do to one another, it's like, I don't know if I can move past some things because for me, probably because I had a lot of trauma, if you say something to me that really hurts me, those tapes are going to replay in my head.
Over and over.
Yeah. And it comes from being in an abusive marriage and probably from my childhood too, you know, but which nobody wants to hear about. But at the same time, it's just like, I don't know if you can't take those words back. So I say people use your words carefully. And even when you're feeling insecure and you're scared and you're vulnerable, don't say things that are fucking mean to people that you can't take back.
Yeah.
Because friendships and relationships and love and all of that is so valuable that the minute, I remember even being on Housewives, I would say something and I could almost see it like a sound bubble like you do in a cartoon. And I would want to reach up in the air and grab it and shove it back in my mouth. And just because I'd be like, oh no, what did I
did not
just say
that.
And I know I do it in my marriage too, when I'm frustrated and he's frustrated and we're having a bad day. And I say things and then I think, what in the hell? Why would I ever say that to another person? But you only hurt the ones you love, right?
It's
because
true.
you know they'll come back.
Yes.
Which is the monogamy thing.
Yeah.
So I can say a bunch of shitty things to you over the course of 50 years, and then you still love me because you know that even though I've said all these shitty things, I've also loved you and taken care of you when you were sick and you know, made chicken soup for you and we raised our kids together. And so I guess that's where the monogamy card comes into play, is that you have to be able to balance how much I've been good to you to my shitty moments.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's exactly what it is.
Because we're human.
Yeah, because we're all human. That's I think what you just described right now is everybody's relationship. I think everybody says things that they don't want to say to the people that they love, right? Like, now we're going to start crying.
I know.
Like, but like,
it's just a matter of time.
Right? But like, I think that's why when you say like you've made it 50 years, it's like you've forgiven that person every day. So you have to forgive people every day, which is like really hard. And sometimes it's for things that really are stupid, right? Because the truth is, like, every day is a blessing that we even have. Like, we don't even know how long we're going to be here. 1 more day, 5 more years, 50 more years. Like, we don't even know. So like, you know there's like security in waking up with that person that loves you, even when they hate you, and like, and is just there for you and still takes care of you no matter what a mess you are. Right?
Yeah.
It's like hard. I mean, like, it's hard to be like, okay, even when it weighs it out, it's like, okay, so today, it's like 90% I don't want to be here and 10% I want to be here. And then the next day is like a 50-50 day. And then you have like a great day. And then when it gets really hard is when you start telling all your friends about your shitty days. And then pretty soon you can't go back because now you've told everybody and everyone thinks you're a fucking asshole because, you know, listen, my husband didn't work for 6 years. I definitely was thinking about, this is fucking over. This is over. This is over. This is over. Like, I can't do this anymore. Right? And then it's like, why does she keep doing it? Well, because there's all these other things that are like actually more important than whether he works or not.
100%. And that's one of the biggest problems with like abuse.
But it doesn't mean I'm not upset about it.
No, but even like in abuse situations, you go to your girlfriends and you're like, my husband's a fucking asshole. He did this, 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 and this. And the next thing you know, you're at a charity event together and they're like, I'm confused. I thought you hated him and this was over.
Right.
And it's such a roller coaster ride for everyone. But
then do you know that person also can't understand their own relationship? Because I think you have to get to a point like with friends, if you talk about friends and toxic friendships and all that, like if you're really somebody's friend, unless it's abusive, like where you're like, you have to get out of this relationship, I'm going to help you. Like if it's just, you know, the regular shit that happens. He didn't tell me about this. He didn't do that. I didn't do this, whatever happened, you know, just the shit that pisses you off every day. Usually financial. It's usually financial or something.
Parenting.
Or like not communicating. It's always like can be solved with communicating better, right? And so you have to like listen to your friends. Part of your job as a friend is to listen to that, but to not sway them in any way, because that's just life. You yourself are going to go home and maybe have an argument with your husband next week. I don't think you should be telling people to leave anybody or to do anything if you don't, you can't be inside anybody's relationship. All you can do is say, if that's what you feel like you need to do, then I'll support you when you decide that you want to do that.
That's what's so critical.
Yeah.
Because it's so hard for people to stay around someone who they believe is in a toxic relationship
Yes.
because they love you.
I know.
And, you know, if it
Trust
were you
me, I
or if it
know.
were me, we both lived it. And my friends were so supportive, but then were pissed at me anytime I wouldn't leave.
Yeah.
And finally I did. But
Right.
at the same time, that whole long-term monogamous relationship, I think about if you've been married for 50 years, 50 seems to be our number for the day. 6%. 6%
Really?
of people's marriages. That's higher than I thought.
I think that's a lot higher than I thought too. And it makes
Does that
me
surprise you, Connor?
I thought it was like, I mean, actually it makes sense. Like with, you know, with health ailments or, you know, just age in general, just the
Oh, that's
average
interesting.
feel for, you know, how long your life lasts. I think that's probably the average number. I mean, I don't know.
I'd be curious to know what cultures, I mean, we don't need to break it down to a scientific study, but I mean, I would guess that I think like Asian cultures would stay together longer than typical people in California. Wouldn't you think like more traditional cultures would stay together longer?
Well, yeah, and I think that a lot of that comes from like respect in your family
Yes, absolutely.
and not letting your whole family down. And I think it's also, I think that in a lot of cultures besides American culture, I love America, don't get me wrong.
No, we all love America.
I love America.
God bless
But
America.
I will say that we are kind of like a temporary happiness type of culture. Like, do what makes you feel good.
Instant
now.
gratification.
Yeah, it's like instant gratification, getting what you want, like those things. I think in other cultures, because most of my best friends almost all come from different cultures, that family bond and the family, like, don't shame the family, don't
like
bring bad name on the
Italian
family.
families,
Yes,
Asian
like all
families,
of them.
like all of those traditional valued
It's like,
families.
don't bring shame to the family.
Yeah.
You know, whatever you do, like, you don't just think about yourself, you think about your family, like your legacy. And they do that financially too, with money, I think, also, where like, it's more like everything is family and family first, and it comes down the pipeline, right? And I feel like with like, our culture is a little bit more like broken up a little bit. Like, there's no real strong like bond. I can be with my Persian friends and walk into a store and it's like, shalom, la la la. I can walk into a store with some white girls and they not gonna say hi to me. Like, you know what I mean? It's
I got something that will surprise you. So the top 10 countries, the longest marriages are 1 Italy, 2 Canada, 3 France, 4 United States, 5 Australia, 6 Mexico, 7 Japan, 8 England, 9 South Africa, 10 Qatar. And I'm going to vet that.
That is shocking to me.
Wow.
Mexico makes total sense because I feel like the Mexican culture is so beautiful and they're so family oriented. Italy makes total sense. I'm surprised. I'm a little interested that we're as high up as we are.
well, I think it's that. Well, it's
What were we, number 4 or 5 on that one?
4.
I'm shocked actually that we're number 4.
Yeah, but that maybe it's because of the whole religion. I
Oh.
mean, we are God bless America.
Yeah.
So maybe.
Does that surprise you, Connor? Because I would have thought for sure, like all the Asian countries would be ahead of us.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the only other real culture I've experienced living there is the United Kingdom, and you know, it's probably pretty close to what we are, and like all these numbers probably don't deviate, you know, very greatly. Like it's all pretty much probably around the same ballpark, I'm assuming. However, for the United States, I mean, I don't think like I try not to let social media as like a sample size like dictate like the general ideals of the rest of our citizens. Like, you know, we've seen with elections, not to get political, that there like are silent majorities that aren't represented through what we see on, you know, social media or other mediums as such. So, you know, I do think there is a solid, evangelical Christian-based amount of population in America that still abides by status quo
The rules,
of traditional marriage.
Yeah.
right?
To
Yeah, I
just
agree.
be together forever. That's so
Yeah,
sweet.
I know, it is really cute.
Do you want to get married, Connor?
I hope so. I mean, that's the plan. I
Let me put you on the spot.
my parents are still married and have a very healthy relationship. So
How many years have they been married?
They're at 28 right now.
28. That's a
Yeah.
good number. Well, you're
See?
young. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's awesome from get a guy's perspective.
Well, and
too.
plus he's nuts about his girlfriend. He's
Yeah.
so crazy about
Oh
her.
my
so
gosh.
and she's awesome.
They're so cute.
Yeah, and she comes from a very traditional family.
Yes.
So
Yes, she does. So
Yeah.
I think it's 2 peas in a pot.
I love it. 2 peas in a pod.
Oh my gosh,
Aw, so
Aw.
sweet.
they're so.
I don't know. I don't know if I feel like my relationship over the years has become more codependent, and I don't know that that's a healthy thing. I did a show for VH1
Yeah.
called Couples Therapy.
Yes, I remember
Yeah,
this.
and I said to the psychologist there, Dr. Jim Berman, I said, I think that we're codependent and we're okay with it. And she's like, please don't say that to me. Please don't say you're codependent.
We're okay. We're totally
But
fine.
after you've been together for 50 years, how can you not be codependent?
Yeah, and codependency is like so much more though than just like I can't go anywhere without you, or I mean there's like if you're truly codependent, you'll just keep giving and giving and giving until you have nothing left. It's like it's really
Eek.
yeah, it's bad, and that's like a codependency thing. I like in therapy once. That she said you have to read this book Codependency No More, which apparently is like the book they give everybody
Yeah,
who
I've
they
heard
think
of
is
it.
codependent.
Mhm.
So I was like reading the book. I'm like, I'm not codependent. Like I don't have codependent tendencies. I'm like reading the book and I'm like, this is way more than I thought it was. Like, oh, okay, maybe I am a little codependent. Like I don't need to be with somebody, or I can't like go to the grocery store by myself or whatever. You know what I mean? But I do have other codependent
Okay, so if
tendencies.
you pull out of the driveway and like you say goodbye to your husband, you pull out of the driveway, you get in the car and you have to call him immediately, is that
Yeah.
codependency?
Yes. I don't know. Maybe I am codependent.
I feel like you and I are a little codependent on each other, which is okay because we do business and everything else together. But my
Is it
husband-
okay? Is it okay?
Yes, we are okay.
We've been okay
You
with
and I
it.
are fine. Okay. But so I do it though. I think of it because I don't speak to my husband that often. Like he's so busy and I'm so busy that we never have time to say, okay, this needs to get, like we had a dishwasher installed today.
Yeah.
The third one, which I don't understand.
God.
Like these are brand new Samsung. I'm like, I don't understand why these things don't work.
Right.
And so
I don't understand.
I'm totally clueless. So I was leaving and the dishwasher repair guy's there, like the guy's there, like there's just shit going everywhere. My daughter's calling me from college and there's so much going on, but I never get a chance to actually speak to my husband.
Right.
So then when I get in the car and I have quiet time, I'm like, okay, now I'm laying it on the line. We can talk about everything that's going on.
Yeah.
And car time is quiet time.
It's always in the car.
I know, but I do pull out of the driveway and then call him. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, we got A, B, C, D.
Like what's happening?
But
It's
that's
because like the only time you have is like in the car.
totally.
Or maybe it's just easier to talk on the phone.
it's really sad, isn't it?
No.
No, I do
mean,
think we're a little bit codependent. I'm going to try to get better at that.
you guys got to start talking in real life.
We don't talk.
But like,
We're always crisis management. That's my marriage is crisis management. Like Kennedy needs a plane flight. She's going here. She's going there. She needs this. She needs that. Like everything, the dishwasher, what the fuck ever. Like it's just
it's all coming at you instead of you like controlling it.
Right. It's never like, where do you want to go? It's always just like last minute. I'm starving. Where are we going to eat? Like it should just, it feels like it's just right now we're in crisis mode. It's very strange.
No, I don't. Okay, so I'll tell you this. Okay, because I'm very much the same. Like, right? I think that if you grow up in a fight or flight atmosphere, and then you go through trauma and everything, right, and you're still like totally in survival mode all the time, it is really hard to get out of survival mode in your head, even if there's nothing to survive. Everything seems like crisis management because your brain is programmed that way, right? So it's like, And I know because I spent years and years and years just feeling like that. And I'm like, is this everybody's life? Like, is everybody's life like this? Like, this is crazy, right? And then I had to like really, and I still go back to it sometimes, but I feel like I have a grasp on my brain a little bit better than I did several years ago. But like, just, and to the point where I'm like, even your friends will be like, God, you got a lot going on, or why do you always have so much going on? Or like, you know, you're like, I don't have so much. To you, you're like, this is just my life, right? And it seems like it's normal, but it's always crisis mode. So it's a management issue, right? Like it's a management issue and a timing issue, so that you have to be prepared. You have to get out of that fight or flight so that when things happen, they don't feel like crisis. You know what I mean? Because it feels like a crisis because you're already like revved up. It's like you're revved up and you're like, okay, what's next? It's like being in like one of those batting cages, you know, and you don't know when the ball's coming out. And you're like sitting there and you're like,
I live my life in a batting cage.
Is it coming? I don't know if it's coming. And so all the time in between the crises is just you trying to figure out when it's coming. And it's chaotic because you're like, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? And you're just like in this fucking chaotic mess. And it's like, so you're productive and you're solving everything as is coming at you. But all the time in between all of these balls, where you're wondering when the ball's coming and is your helmet on and am I going to get hit or am I not going to get hit? Am I going to swing it? Oh my God. I've been in that cage. It's fucking paranoia. And like, you're living in that zone waiting for the next ball. So you have to like get out of that. So when you're you're happy living your life. And then when something happens, you just deal with it and you move on. It doesn't feel like a crisis, right?
Yeah. I think that you're 100% right that it comes from a place probably of trauma, which I know we talk about probably too much. But at the same time, with my former husband, I never knew what was going to be coming around the corner. Right. And so it is like living in fight or flight all the time, but it's so unhealthy.
And it's a very high level of anxiety
levels,
to like hold
everything.
Yeah.
But even though when I first married John, my current husband, he would come around the corner. I'd be like at my makeup room or something, and I would immediately put my hands up, and it was just reactionary because of my history. And I still think that I maybe respond to chaos in the same way, like, oh God, this is going to be something horrible, as opposed to being able to step back and say, don't get parasympathetic and get crazy and just...
Well, and that's what happens. So then even your expectation of it rising, the expectation of any situation escalating, you tend to, not you, me, tend to just naturally escalate on your own. And then sometimes, I mean, I've been in situations with my family even where I'm like, am I the one escalating this right now? Like literally, because you're just anticipating. So like, and that is like a PTSD trauma response. Like even my husband, like if he gets like starts yelling at a driver, or he's like I don't know, he gets upset about something because he's very like upset, like clenched fists upset, the way his tone of voice or whatever will literally trigger me to the point where I'm like now ready to fight, right?
Same.
Yeah. And then
100%.
I'm like almost causing a fight. Like, not that what he's saying he's upset about, he has a right to be upset. Why can I be upset all the time, but he can't be upset, right? So he has a right to be upset. So he's upset, he's saying something, but it triggers something in me to where now I'm like, and I even know it. So half the time I'm like talking to myself like, oh my God, you're totally overreacting. Why are you overreacting? Calm down. Like, you're making this worse. And I'll be like, I gotta walk out. Like, I will literally just walk out the front door because
you need like a Gemma timeout.
I'm like making it worse. Yeah.
You need to give yourself a timeout.
Because you're anticipating something horrible happening. You're anticipating a big argument. You're anticipating all these things like subconsciously. So you're already acting defensively.
Well, that's where the driving, you know how I feel about driving. I'm such a nervous passenger, which I didn't used to be. But that is like a whole PTSD trigger for me with my husband when he drives.
Right.
Well, even when you drive, to be honest.
When anybody drives.
Although, you know, if I'm a passenger in anyone's car, I feel completely out of control, and I probably need to address that.
But I'm going to give you that. I'm going to give you that one, Taylor, because I will say that the majority of people, if you interviewed them right now, would say they were also scared to get in the car with me. And I never believed I was a bad driver. I never believed I was a bad driver until I drove you. And I was like, okay, it's not just people I've known for 30 years that are against me.
I I'm not against you.
I
It's
was
just,
like,
I'm
I
a
really must
nervous
be a bad
passenger.
driver.
Oh
I
my
think it's-
God. I'm just a nervous passenger, but it causes so much conflict with John and me that I almost wish to not ride with him.
No, you need a
Because
driver.
He's fucking pissed that there's traffic. And I'm like, everybody else is sitting in traffic.
Right.
Why are we mad about the traffic? Because if you live in LA, Orange County to LA to Orange County, it's going to be a pain in the fucking ass. And that's just the way it is.
I'm pretty sure the majority of people are on antidepressants because of traffic.
It's so bad.
I think it's the traffic more than the
The
childhood
driving
trauma.
with him, it's the lane changing. And I'm like,
bad.
wait, he's like, don't fucking tell me how to drive. I've been driving for 170 years.
I know, it's my husband
Like,
too.
I have to tell you how to drive because you're lane changing and nobody's going anywhere and you're fucking stressing me out. I'm getting stressed right
You're
now
like,
just
you're
talking
crazy.
about it. I have to fan myself because I'm getting stressed. I literally can feel myself like starting
You're
to
getting
sweat
angry.
thinking
You're like-
about him driving. I just can't. It's like the number one thing we fight about, that and parenting.
Oh my God. Well, parenting is definitely a big